G'day legends, bit of a different view today. The camera battery is flat, but I'm keen to make this video, so we're running with the iPhone for now, and hopefully it turns out all right. Hopefully you don't mind looking straight on at this face. So we're gonna listen to some of the mixes that you guys sent in. So you guys sent in an absolute ton of mixes, so we probably won't get through all of them in this video. We might need to do a few videos to get through all of these mixes, but I've kind of randomly picked a few and chucked them in a session, and what we're gonna do is listen to them, and I'm hopefully going to be able to give you a little bit of advice to improve your mixes. And if they sound good, maybe I won't have anything to tell you. Maybe I'll just pat you on the back and say good job. So it's always important when we go into these videos to remember that mixing is subjective and that the things that I might like may not be the things that you like. And so if you disagree with any of the tips or suggestions that I offer, that's totally cool. Just take what you want, try it out. If you think it makes an improvement, that's awesome. If you think it's a waste of time and it makes it sound worse, then that's okay as well. So let's just see how this goes, but yeah, always take it with a grain of salt. So our first track is by Luan and it's called 99 Reasons. If I say your name wrong, I do apologize. So I just want to stop it there and say, this sounds really good. The drums sound great. The vocals sound really cool. And the sense of space that you're creating sounds really good too. Like in here, like the bongos came in and then there was something down the center and then there was something on the left. So you're really making use of the stereo field and keeping things interesting and moving, which sounds awesome. Really good so far. Okay, so overall, really cool. The little guitar slide into the chorus is kind of harsh. The sort of like a string noise. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like something in that slide. There's just a frequency. It's quite loud. It just sort of like comes at my ears a little bit. So that's maybe just being picky, but when I heard that, it wasn't like the kind of, you know, it was like the harshness of the slide. So I don't know if that could be sort of like tidied up, or if you got a different slide take, maybe you like that. So that's just what's jumping out at me there. And just coming out of the chorus, those drums were like really loud. So I get sometimes having a little bit of shock factor or like kind of going against like the balance and making something extremely loud compared to everything else can be cool. It just sort of shocks me a little bit. It could just maybe come down like 2 dBs or something. It's like, whoa, there it is, there's the drums. But it's a cool effect. I like that sound and how it's sweeping across, and it's like a little bit trashy sounding. It's just a shock factor. So that little like radio effect there. I feel like that could be cool if it had maybe like a spread effect on it, because you have your lead vocal down the center and then you have the radio effect and then the lead vocal comes back in over the top. Whereas I think separating it out, or, you know, panning it to one side a little bit, maybe putting a spreader on it and making it sound sort of like phasey across the speakers could be really cool to just sort of separate it away from the other lead vocal. like that. So you had the wide vocals there. That would be cool with that stereo effect as well.
I'll break every silence 'cause I'm weak. Take me over. Talk to me.
So there it is again. So a little harsh sounding.
Talk to me. Whisper in my ear, say what you need and I'll show you.
I do feel like some of the vocals jump out at me as being like a little pitchy. I can't really put my finger on it. She has a really cool voice, really cool tone. It's just like some notes, they just sound a little funny to me, but I would maybe just take a look at it under Melodyne and see if there's like a couple of things that can be tweaked a little bit. And it's in no way like it's a bad pitchy thing. It's just like some things are just catching my ear a little bit and I can't totally put my finger on it. Overall, I think the balance of the mix, the sounds, how it's all gelling together is really good. Like you've done a really great job. It's a solid mix. It sounds awesome. Love the panning and stuff of the vocals, the whispering, it's cool. It's like for some reason at that very moment there, it feels like there's too much reverb. Maybe there's more reverb on this last chorus. Like. Yeah, it's definitely more effects there. I don't know if it like needs that. I feel like it sort of softens the impact of everything that comes in. When it comes back in, it's sort of like a bit too washed out sounding. Yeah, I'm feeling like this last chorus has too much effects on the vocals for some reason. Cool ending. Yeah, I dig that. So awesome track. Couple little pointers there. See what you think. Otherwise, sounds sick. Good job. So our next track was sent in by Aaron and it's called Anniverse Demo 7. All right, let's give this a listen. So a big difference from the last track we just listened to. This is giving me like old school Paramore vibes, which is like awesome. Like I love this. Watch me annihilate. Watch me annihilate. Like All We Know Is Falling album. Like that's what I'm getting at the moment. Okay, so The track's a little muddy sounding, but the song is awesome. The arrangement so far is great. The vocals are cool. Like, everything here is ready to be a great song. But yeah, the mix is just lacking kind of clarity, lacking a bit of punch. Overall, yeah, it's a bit washy and muddy sounding. I'd love to hear the drums have more impact, more transient, so just really hear the kick and the snare and the toms sort of like crack through a little bit more like air in the cymbals, because the drums are a little lost in the mix, like kind of a lot of the stuff's a little lost in the mix. You could definitely just bring like the close mics of the drums out more, whether you're going to put samples or there are samples in there if it needs it. Maybe like implementing a kick and a snare sample could give it a bit of extra punch and clarity. I don't know if you ever use Trigger 2, but just get that and just add some samples in. That'll help get it sounding a lot bigger. But definitely try and mix those drums to have more attack and more punch and clarity. And so overall, it feels like the low mids are just like kind of overbearing in the mix at the moment. So let's just jump ahead and just play another section.
No place to be a ruler. I live inside a box. Nowhere to breathe at all. I wanna kill the ruler. No place to dwell any sooner. A place we play my flow.
Hear how that kind of like just instantly clears the mix up a lot. So low mids, guitars around kind of like 400 to 500 hertz. There's probably a little bit of mud there, even in the bass and the drums. There's probably just a bit of a build up in everything in this low mid area in the mix at the moment. And that's why when I cut this at the moment, it makes the mix sound like it opens up and sounds a lot clearer. So I would be looking at that area to start sort of like cleaning sounds up, just like look in the mid range and see what can be carved out to make room for other things. So don't attack the vocals straight away. Maybe just like look at guitars, look at the bass, see if that can be cleaned up. Even in drums, there's always like some mid-range stuff that can be a little dirty.
Where only few will go. It's never too late to choose your side. I'm made of blood and bones, but I'll never let you know that I'm more than just a soul in the universe. I'm made of blood and bones, but I'll never let you know that I'm more than just a soul.
So you can see, so pretty basic EQ points here, but like boosting some air, kind of like 11, 12K. So that would be like cymbals and vocals, bringing out some like presence and clarity and detail. And then on the drums, bringing out a little bit of that more thump in the kick. And obviously once you start carving away some of this like mid-range stuff out of the drums as well, like, you know, pull a little bit of like 200 hertz out of the kick if it's feeling a little like boxy and muddy. Clean up the mid-range of the guitars and the bass. Add some compression, maybe some transient designer to the kick and the snare if it needs more attack and punch. And then I feel like this would start to take a bit of a better shape. So you can hear even just these basic little EQ adjustments are making a big difference to adding clarity to the mix. And I think that's kind of what's needed at the moment. And this song is really cool. So it would be so awesome to hear it kind of like at its full potential. Let's just bypass EQ for a second and just keep listening. You can really hear that low mid mud in the lead guitar there, like that. So definitely just carve that stuff out a bit. All right, so that's really cool. I really like that little transition there. might be cool to like hear that kind of like that one guitar panned off to the side a bit, maybe like filter it a little bit just to add some sort of change, make it sound a little smaller so that when the band does come back in, it's like, whoa, like a big explosion of sound. At the moment, there's not heaps of impact. It just sounds cool, like it goes to the one guitar and then everything comes back in. But make it sound a little different, give it a bit of character, something interesting about it.
I'm made of blood and bones, but I'll never let you know that I'm more than just a soul in the universe. I'm made of blood and bones, but I'll never let you know that I'm more than just a soul in the universe. Take me home, take me home to the universe.
Cool ending. I like that vocal reverb ending. That was cool. So this is maybe like a more production tip kind of thing. I can't tell if there's harmonies or anything in there. It would be great to hear some harmonies, even if they're just like kind of really subtle in the mix and like double tracked and panned out, or at least like using a doubling effect to create width with the vocal. And it'd be great to even just hear the vocals double tracked and just make them sound a little bit bigger and wider in the choruses, particularly just when things are really going off. They're great places to add extra layering in vocals. I know it says it's a demo, so maybe there's not a lot of emphasis on this to being a top quality production, but like it could be. Like I can hear the potential there, and you know the right mix on this would just sound awesome. Yeah. I really like this song, so I can't wait to hear it when it's finished. Or if you're looking for someone to mix it, just send it to me because I like this. Okay, so our next track, Your Name is Tragedy by Johan Rodriguez. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but that's my best attempt. So everything's like really just straight down the center mono, nothing kind of wide stereo at the moment.
How I should speak when I should go. Somebody tell me why I should run the other side. Your name is tragedy.
Okay, so it's an interesting song, like some sort of cool sounds going on here, some interesting transitions and sort of changes of feel and tempo. But the thing that's jumping out at me is the reverb on the vocals. I don't particularly like it that much, or maybe I just don't like how much I can hear of it, or just like that it's enhancing like the low mids a lot. So especially in the chorus, you can just hear it gets kind of like muddy and like the effects just like it's too much.
Your name is tragedy.
So I can really hear it in this region around, I don't know, 300, 400 hertz.
Your name is tragedy.
Just like the, like, I don't know, 200, 300 hertz kind of area. I feel like in the reverb, if you could cut that, so if your reverb's on a send, you can easily just add an EQ and you can EQ a bit of that out. Or if your reverb has an EQ within it, then you can cut a little bit of that out, or maybe just turn the reverb down a little bit. Maybe it's the fact that it's mono as well. It's just like sort of just sitting down the center. I prefer the sound of stereo reverbs, but obviously each to their own. So maybe once the chorus hits and you are kind of like opening it up, you've got those more stereo sounds happening, maybe you could switch it to a stereo reverb and just get a bit more space on it and width, and it might take it away from cluttering the vocal down the center. Anyway, that's sort of the main thing that's jumping out at me there, but also it sounds like it's meant to be kind of heavy, like the chorus hits. It still just has like a softness about it, and I feel like it's maybe in the drums. Like you have a listen to the kick and the snare, and they're very clean sounds.
Somebody tell me why I should run the other.
It's very like pokey sounding, like just the clean transient of the snare. What I'd like to hear is just maybe some dirt on that. Maybe have like a parallel send with some distortion for the drums, a bit of saturation, push the kick and the snare into it, get them a little bit gritty, and then like kind of blend that into your drum sound and just add a little bit of flavor to it, and like it'll give the drums a bit of sustain. They won't just be like a psh, psh, psh. They'll have a bit more like bah, bah, like kind of loud and aggressive. So let's just grab like Black Box, right? And we'll chuck Black Box on here, and I'm just going to put it on a preset, so mixed bus aggro rock, and this is kind of what I'm imagining. Like I just feel like the mix needs a little bit more edge.
Somebody tell me why I should run the other side. Your name is tragedy.
You really hear that reverb on Your Name.
Your name is.
Sorry, that's just like, it jumps out at me. So, but you can hear with Black Box on, it's adding the grit and excitement that I think this mix is lacking. Like it's almost there. It just needs some character, a bit of excitement. It's just a little too clean and like clinical almost. So add a little bit of like harmonic distortion in there on the drums, even if it's just on the drums, maybe on the vocals as well. The vocals are pretty clean too. Give them a little bit of edge. That could be pretty cool.
Tragedy.
So it's pretty cool. There's a bit of dynamic between the chorus and this. Like we got some nice louds and softs, which, you know, is sounding cool. I like the lead sounds that you're using. That sounded great. That sound down the center, like wicka wicka wop 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 wop, whatever it is. It would be cool to hear that just kind of maybe like moving a little bit. Like you could put a panner on it, or you could just like automate some sort of like gentle panning. It just feels like we need some movement now. Like the start of the song, if you want to keep it like dead center and mono, explodes out into your stereo chorus. I probably wouldn't go back to just being like really mono again for a long time. I'd try and just keep things interesting, keep a bit of movement happening. Like there was a cool sound just there. There's some weird little like high sounds in the background. They'd be cool panned off to the side a bit more so we can like hear them a little bit better and they don't get missed. Something about that transition is just lacking like the punch when the chorus hits. Like it sounds kind of soft. I'd want to hear the chorus just like hit it. So I'm not sure whether we need to kind of like bump something up here. Maybe those guitars or like whatever that sound is. If it's a synth sound, maybe it's MIDI guitars. I think it's partly to do with what I was saying before, like having some saturation on the drums, a bit more excitement and aggression to them. Then I think that the chorus will pop a little bit better. So let's say we've added some saturation to the chorus. It could sound kind of like this.
Somebody tell me why.
See how it pops more? It could just be a matter of beefing those drums up, adding a bit of saturation to the vocals as well. This is really cool. It's like almost like 80s vibe kind of thing. I get like, I don't know, like John Farnham sort of like keyboard breakdown moment. Okay, so I like the kind of build up through here. I like the keys sound, the layers and everything. But that midpoint there where the drums kind of are ramping up, I think you just need to like crank the kick there and just make it like a moment where it's like boom, boom, boom. Like just make the excitement really clear. At the moment, it's sort of like, it's like, oh, here comes the beat and it's a little subdued. Like it could just be a personal thing, but I would like to hear just a bit more like energy when it kicks in. It's like, yeah, we're ramping up now. It sort of just feels a little too held back.
Somebody tell me why.
So again, just getting into that chorus, it's just lacking energy. So the chorus doesn't sound like it goes anywhere. It's sort of like we've just ramped up and then it just kind of happens, but it's not like, whoa, the chorus just hit. So just getting some way to make that impact harder is really important.
Somebody tell me why.
At the moment, it just like kind of just transitions into it. It doesn't go bang like we're here. So that's what we need.
I should run the other side. Your name is tragedy.
That reverb's really killing me there.
Keep your head away from me. Your name is tragedy.
Maybe just like overall, the vocals could be compressed a little more. It feels like there's points like here, like they jump out a little too much, like out of the mix and then kind of like hide the mix, where we need them just to be a little bit more consistent so that that doesn't happen, so that the music stays consistent, the vocal stays consistent. But yeah, there's a couple of thoughts and tips and hopefully it helps you out. Okay, so I've got a track here mixed by Mike and it's from a band that I've reviewed before called I Like Snaps. So the song's called I Think We've Got a Hit on Our Hands. So let's have a listen and see what we think. See if we've got a hit on our hands.
Oh, come on!
I got a couple of thoughts here. I really like the intro. I thought the guitar sounded good at the beginning, and I liked all the little effects.
Oh, come on!
I think that's really fun. Really like makes the beginning very interesting and like draws you in. But then as soon as the band hits, I'm like, oh, there's like a lot of cymbals. That hi-hat's just like drilling it home. I don't think it's like an EQ thing necessarily. I think it's just like, let's just pull the cymbals into the mix a little bit more. Like that's sort of the loudest thing I'm hearing is like cymbals, 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 and then it's like doo 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 guitar down the center. Whereas let's switch it up a little bit, maybe make that lead a little more prominent and maybe give it a little more edge. Maybe it sounds just kind of like soft at the moment. I like to hear it just like have a little bit more cut to it. And yeah, just bringing the cymbals in, and then I feel like that balance would be a bit better. I do hear a lot of the bass. It's sort of like around 2K. It just sounds a little too much to me. Like it's just like, I know some people love hearing like the clacky bass sound, and I do like a dirty bass tone as well, but it's sort of kind of distracting. Yeah, it's just like in that 2K region, there's just a little too much grind on the bass or something for my liking. Let's keep listening. I've got some thoughts about the vocals too. They sound a little, I know we've only listened to a small section of the song. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself here. But the vocals sound a little unnatural in the sense that they've had too much body cut out of them. And this is a mistake that I used to make a lot when I was mixing early on. I would try and change the vocal to make the vocal sit in the mix rather than like adjust the mix so that the vocal would sit better in it. I feel like with vocal, it's really important not to cut too much away from them to the point where they just start to sound like really thin and like unnatural. It sounds almost like they've been high-passed a little too far.
Trying to please you now, but maybe I can't. And no matter what I do, I never hear good job.
Like we've got the high-pass filter at around 200 hertz there, and it just sounds like the vocal is all up here around 3K. So we don't have a lot of body in the vocal, and I would like to hear more of that because I feel like the vocal would sit better in the mix, and it almost sounds almost like radio effect at the moment, and just like making this region kind of harsh around 3K, 2 to 3K. That's sort of what's standing out to me.
I'm proud of you, 'cause you let me down, and I'm holding back.
It just feels like this area here has a lot going on. So you've got the bass clacky stuff, you've got like guitar presence as well, and then it's like the vocals are being pushed into here as well, and this is where the bulk of our vocal is, whereas I'd probably like to hear like more mids from the vocals and just like more body, and then they won't be so reliant upon that frequency range to make them heard. Yeah, just what I'm hearing. And that could just be a matter of like masking. There's a few things fighting for this like upper mid region, and it's making the mix sound a little harsh.
Back from being myself, from being who I truly am. I'm never good enough. I'm so scared about letting.
Like if I was mastering this right now, I would really want to be like pulling out a bit of like around 2K.
I'll disappoint you now. I'm holding back, and I'm stuck in the shell. It was making me sick. You put me through hell, and I'm holding back, and I'm stuck in the shell. It was making me sick. You put me through hell.
All I can hear is the bass. I don't know if my ears are just like tuned into that now, but it's really distracting to me. Like I feel like the drums are tight, but I'd like to hear the snare just have like more crack, more bigness to it. It sort of gets a little lost in the mix at times.
Gonna give up on me, and I've done this all for you. It hasn't been
I think the vibe with the mix is that it's like natural as well. So I don't think you're the kind of want to chuck samples in this and like make it sound like ridiculously big drum sound, but it just feels like it needs something on the drums, maybe some extra like transient designer, maybe like some 1176 kind of like punch to the snare.
easy now. What you see is not too great.
Just depends. You got cymbal bleed to combat with as well when it's like live drums.
I'm holding back, and I'm stuck in this shell. It was making me sick.
So one thing that I can hear is like the drummer is like getting the tip of the stick on the cymbal sometimes. Can you hear that? Like
You put me
just there.
in this shell. It was making me sick.
Like it's just this really high-pitched tick sound that annoys me so much, and it annoys me when I do it when I'm playing drums and I hear it in a recording. I'm like, oh, that's just like an annoying little sound that pops out, like a mouth click kind of sound, drum click kind of sound. And you can actually get rid of these with like mouth declick from EASYCORE. So if you have that plugin and you find that stuff kind of annoying, like try it on your overheads. It can be really cool, even if you just like print your overhead with mouth declick and then just like swap out that little offending section so you're not like declicking the whole thing because it might like ruin some transients. But that is one way to get rid of those annoying like little tip of the stick hitting the crash at the wrong time. I don't know, that stuff jumps out at my ears. I'm like, oh, that's so annoying.
Put me through hell, and I'm holding back, and I'm stuck in this shell. It was making me sick. You put me through hell. It's in your head, a source of your problems. The devil you fed, upon the resolve them. It's in your head, the source of your problems.
Like overall, I like the kind of rawness of this track and the vibe that's going on here. It does just have like a slight harshness to it in those upper mids. I think just like kind of paying attention to that area and just seeing where things are building up, maybe just bringing these cymbals down a little bit, try and just bring a bit of body back to the vocals, maybe take some of that clack out of the bass. I just feel like that's really present, and like I like distorted bass, but sometimes it's like there's a particular frequency that's like not nice, and I feel like that's what's happening at the moment. It's like this kind of like dirty, clacky sound rather than like a cool, clicky, clacky kind of sound. There's just something in there that just, it's just too much for what I like to hear.
Holding back, I'm stuck in this shell. It was making me sick. You put me through. I'm holding back.
I would like to hear some like de-essing on the vocal as well. I know probably once you bring a bit of body back to the vocal, it would even it out a bit, but at the moment the S's and the T's are like really present throughout the track as well, and that does add to the harshness.
You put me through. I'm holding back, and I'm stuck
A cool little effect there.
sick. You put me through. I'm holding back, and I'm stuck in this
Little like bass drop kind of effect. That's cool.
shell. It was making me sick. You put me through hell. I'm holding back. I'm stuck in this shell. It was making me sick. You put me through hell. Never good enough. I'm all washed up. I've let you down. Left here to rot on the ground.
It's a really cool song. It just sounds a little harsh and at times like a little hollow. So I would just be looking at the mid-range and trying to clean that up a little bit. Upper mids, just dealing with anything that could be a little harsh, like I've mentioned, and just bringing back a little bit of body to things like the vocals, maybe even like just have a look at the guitars and just have a look and see. It could just be once you fix this upper mid stuff, it's going to balance out a little bit better and it'll feel a bit fuller rather than just like all of these things kind of like fighting for attention in this same kind of like 2 to 4K kind of area up here. But thanks for sending the track in. Really cool song. They're always really cool songs, so keep up the good stuff. So our next track is called Nightmare. It's sent in by Joe Mayeski or Mayeski. Sorry, again, last names, it's tricky. So if I got it wrong, apologies. This track, let's give it a listen.
Darling, do you know what happens when you're not around? I tend to lose myself and frankly, I don't want to be found. All the negative thoughts inside my head constantly telling me
This is sounding really cool.
to quit, but I don't wanna wake up from a daydream, cause it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I don't know if I can think straight while I'm looking over my shoulder, running from a nightmare that I can't seem to escape.
Like really cool production, really clean, super tight, which sounds great. Separation's pretty solid. Everything sounds like it's in a really good place and working together nicely. The main thing that's jumping out at me is like the drums are pretty bright. The kick is like pretty clicky. I don't know. I feel like maybe that could be like less clicky, a little like just sort of like more rock and less like kind of metal, tick, 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 sort of like tick on the top end kind of sound.
Cause it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I don't know if I can think straight while I'm looking over my shoulder, running from a night.
You know, like I'm killing the rest of the track at the moment, but I feel like that's where I'd like to hear the kick, like just take a bit of this like 8K, 6K, 7K kind of stuff out.
That I can't seem to escape.
Just make the kick like meaty sounding. I feel like that would suit this kind of track a little bit better than like being like overly bright and tick, 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 sort of like a Pantera metal kind of kick sound. And like even the snare's pretty edgy as well. Maybe just like cooling the top end of that just a little bit, or maybe just adding a little bit more like fundamental thump to the snare. Yeah, just get like a little bit more beef on the low end of the snare and just like cool that top end just a tiny bit. And then I think that would just like add a little bit more like power rather than just being like real snappy sounding. I don't mind like a snappy snare, but yeah, they're the main things that are sort of jumping out at me at the moment is the kick and the snare, just like a little bit bright sounding.
Take it back 1 year and we were fine, laughing over cheap glasses of wine, not a care in the world, they all
Guitars sound cool, like real scratchy, but it works.
could see how much you meant to me. I can't go back and that's not right.
Vocals are great, sounds really good.
I never got a chance to say goodbye. Now I stand here staring at a stone,
Great harmonies.
and it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I don't know if
I think your choruses, you could just automate the whole track, just like where you have everything like bust in groups or whatever. You could just grab all of those and just push them up like a dB or two and just make that chorus like pop, because at the moment it doesn't pop too much out of the mix.
staring at a stone, and it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I don't know if
You know, like it just rolls into the chorus. The way I like to do this is like on the groups, like I'll just automate everything up and I push them a little bit harder into my bus compressor. I feel like that sounds cool to me. But obviously if you want to just automate like the mix bus, you could just like push it up a dB or two. Sometimes I feel like it just sounds like it gets turned up, whereas when you like bring it all up together, it's just like it hits the compressor harder and all that, just makes it more energetic and exciting. So see what you reckon, but I think that could definitely help add a little bit of punch and pop to those sections where you need to make it like jump out.
And it feels like I'm living in a nightmare. I don't know if I can think straight while I'm looking over my shoulder, running from a nightmare that I can't seem to escape. Tell me what's the difference if I'm asleep or I'm awake? They're catching up to me anyway. I'm my own worst enemy. Sometimes I bring out my darker side to shadow the blinding lights. A firestorm I can't contain melts the ice within my veins. It's not fucking real to me as I draft your eulogy. How am I supposed to be a better me when you're not?
So I think when I was kind of like going into mastering this track, these are kind of like the areas I'd be looking to kind of like improve. And this is a little bit to do with the kick and the snare being like overly bright. Sort of trying to tame that a bit, add a little bit of low end sort of like energy in because it's kind of toppy sounding at the moment.
I'm asleep or I'm awake. They're catching up to me anyway. I'm my own worst enemy. Sometimes I bring out my darker side to shadow the blinding light.
I feel like that just balances a bit better. It sounds a little bit fuller as opposed to just being like really bright and energetic. We just get a little bit of thickness, which is good. The bridge sounds really cool though.
A firestorm I can't contain melts the ice within my veins. It's not fucking real to me as I draft your eulogy. How am I supposed to be a better me when you're not here with me tonight?
I think those vocals there could be cool to do some sort of effect with them like panning and just kind of a little bit of movement in that section would be really cool. Over here. Yeah, let's sweep it round a bit. So again, like kind of about the impact. So that when it comes out of that build up, it's like, oh, this is sounding cool and energetic. And then the chorus hits and it's like, it just didn't quite have the push that it needed. So it's just like, it drops away. So again, that can be like right at the start of the chorus, just like boosting it up a dB or two to give it that push. It's going to make it like pop a bit better. Maybe adding in some kind of hype effect, like this is a pretty poppy track, so I don't think you'll be too scared about adding a sample sound in over the top. Maybe some sort of like filter sweep, like a noise kind of thing. Even that really subtle, just like works wonders to making a chorus or a section like pop. So you can imagine. Yeah, just like the excitement and the hype. That's just all it needs.
If I can think straight while I'm looking over my shoulder, running from a nightmare that I can't seem to escape. Tell me what's the difference if I'm asleep or I'm awake. They're catching up to me anyway. I'm my own worst enemy.
The fill on the drums, it feels like a little too like forced. Like it's like, let's try and fit like a fast roll in there. Like if I was drumming this, I wouldn't do that. Like it sounds a little messy. I would just go with something straight and powerful.
Anyway, I'm my
you know, like just like keep it like 16th notes. Don't try and chuck a 30-second note or whatever in there. Just my drummer brain kicking in there. I've heard it a couple of times through the song, and each time I'm like, I don't really like that fill. Obviously, if a drummer played it and they like it, that's fine. But this is just like coming from my perspective. If I was on the drums, I would just keep that straight and powerful, roll it in, because those kind of rolls, they lose power. Like it's just like just falling down the stairs kind of sounding, as opposed to just something that's just like you know, like just punching it in and just giving it energy. Great song. Awesome. Sounds really good. So I think just those couple of little pointers, but I like it. Okay, this next track is called Poverty and Death, and it was sent in by Fabio. So this is going to be the last one for this video, and then we will come back and check out some more mixes in another video. So there's heaps more there, and if your mix wasn't in this one, I do apologize, but there's just too many mixes to sit down and go through in one session. So we'll just have to do them in a couple of blocks over a few videos. So let's check this one out. Okay, here we go. Something's coming. It's almost cinematic. Oh. I gotta be honest, I thought this was gonna like kick into like a metal track. Maybe it still will, I don't know, but that definitely surprised me, and the ramp up to that is like awesome. So it's sounding cool so far. The sidechain effect, it was making me feel a little queasy, like just through here. It was pretty intense, but that could be intentional.
United Nations Radio, Mediterranean, and this is John Snag speaking. Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
Oh, here we go. Wow. Hectic. Okay, so this has definitely got shock factor to me, because I'm like, what's happening? Like, we got this kind of like dance thing, and then we got metal. Mind blown. It's cool though, but the thing that's jumping out at me is just like how drastic the tonal change is from the electronic stuff to the real drum sounds. I feel like the real drums need more presence, more attack, more like top end and like bite to them, because those electronic drums are like psh, 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 like they're really crisp and clear, and then the drums coming, they just sort of sound like kind of muffled and small. So you need to match that energy, in my opinion. I just feel like they need to transition cleanly, and if anything, like you don't want that metal stuff to sound like softer, because like that's kind of like the harder sound. Like it's like, yeah, that's the rock, the guitars, the drums. I feel like coming from that sort of like big dancey stuff, it's almost like you got to step it up, or at least keep it consistent as far as like tone and energy goes, just because it just felt like it went like down a notch a little bit. This is wild.
Under the command of
I think those toms could be panned a little further out.
Under the command of General Eisenhower, began landing Allied forces.
Hectic. So I'm not laughing at like the song because it's awesome. Like it's just like extreme to extreme. Like that's just like crazy. Oh, a bit of swing. Like those electronic drums, they sound massive. They sound really fat, punchy, clean. Like I couldn't suggest anything to improve upon those. Nice. Wow, what a song. That was intense. So I think only what I mentioned in there is really all I can think of that. Like it sounds huge and the transitions are really cool and interesting and it's very unique. I'll say that. Like I definitely haven't heard a lot of stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. Definitely very creative. And I think, yeah, just kind of like balancing out those drums a little bit with the energy, I think could help. But overall, besides that, like the guitars and the synth and everything and all the little like laid in samples, that stuff all sounded cool. All right, so that was quite a mixed bag of tracks and I just want to thank each and every one of you for sending in your songs and to everyone who has sent a track in but we didn't get to it today. I will do my best to do a couple more videos like this and we'll go through them and I'll try and offer some advice, some tips. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. If you think anything I said in these videos, you're just like, nah, I don't agree with that. That's totally cool. Like mixing is so subjective. Like listen to those 6 songs, how different they all sounded from one another. But as you listen to them, they all have their own, you know, sonic signature. And that's the thing, like you listen to lots of different albums, they're all gonna sound different. It's not like we can have all these songs mixed to sound the same and that would be boring anyway. So we just gotta like work within that mix and see what we can do to get the best out of it. And hopefully some of those tips are helpful. And if not, that's cool. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and drop some comments below. Let me know what you think of the mixes. Which one was your favorite? If you have anything that you would like to suggest that I didn't suggest, if you heard something you're like, oh, this would help, drop a comment below, let them know. I'm sure they would love to hear your feedback as well. And as always, guys, if you want to support this channel, please check out the link in the description below to my website. I have a range of drum samples and mixing courses. I say it in every video, but grabbing that stuff really does help support this channel and the time that goes into making videos, doing this kind of stuff. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to sit down, edit this stuff, put it all together. Just any bit of support is really helpful. And if you're interested in checking out one of my mixing courses, then check out this next video coming up.